Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take the most challenging material you send us and, well, we distill it into immediately useful, mind-bending knowledge. Today, we're tackling a concept that really flips reality on its head. You shared with us a deep analysis of a radical Japanese philosophy, specifically from the writings of Kuchitsuru. And it's all centered on this idea that life is not just like a game, but is literally the Earth-human game, or Chikinin and Gomu. So our mission is pretty simple. Synthesize the alleged rules, the crippling limitations, and the high-stakes purpose of this game. We want to do this so you can instantly apply this unique framework to your own potential. Okay, let's unpack this. What if the only limits you currently experience are the very ones your bravest self willingly chose before you were even born?
And that idea right there that we are voluntarily limited, that is the absolutely critical starting point. This philosophy asserts that our fundamental, our true nature is inherently infinite. In the source material, they call this Mugen, our soul, our consciousness. It has no restriction, no constraint whatsoever in its natural state.
So what's holding us back then?
It's our own conviction, our own belief. The text calls it ninshiki, or simply our self-recognition. If you truly believe you're a tiny, restricted being, you will experience a tiny, restricted life. It's a direct match.
And if you change that recognition?
The moment it shifts, your external reality is required to follow. If you recognize yourself as infinite, you stop trying to become it, and you start remembering that you always were.
So it sounds like we are all currently experiencing a kind of voluntary, self-imposed cognitive lockdown. We are infinite consciousness playing a demanding game of dress up as a, restricted human.
That captures it perfectly.
Yeah.
And that brings us right to the first major question. If we are boundless, why on earth would we choose to create a world filled with boundaries? Why even start the game?
It's the paradox of infinity, right? The source material connects the infinite self to mu, which is pure nothingness.
Exactly. What happens when you are nothingness? Forever.
Right.
With no end.
I guess. Eventually you get bored.
Precisely. Continuous, unending boundlessness. It ceases to provide any contrast or flavor. So to escape that cosmic boredom, the infinite being chose to impose rules and very, very severe restrictions on itself. And this was done explicitly to create a playable, challenging, and crucially, a fun game.
The analogy they use here is, it's perfect for explaining the power of restriction. They use the game of shogi, Japanese chess.
It illustrates the point beautifully. I mean, think about it. You have the raw physical ability to just lean over the board and grab your opponent's king piece.
You could just take it, end the game instantly.
But you don't. Because the game, the entire experience of strategy, of anticipation, of ingenuity, it only exists because everyone agrees to the rules.
Right. The rook moves only one step forward. The king can't be just grabbed by hand.
The restriction is the foundational mechanism that generates the fun.
So that's the core lesson of this whole Genesis story. Restriction is the engine of creativity, ingenuity, kufu, and progress. Shinba.
Yes. We impose these limits on ourselves to taste the joy of effort and advancement. The pure satisfaction that comes from achieving something within rigid, defined boundaries.
Okay, so what exactly are the rules of engagement here? The source lays out some seriously restrictive hardware specs for the human avatar we're all piloting. It's not just restricted, it's a 3D virtual reality game with intentionally high difficulty settings.
And we really need to acknowledge just how severe these limits are. I mean, they're designed to make forgetting our infinite nature nearly inevitable.
Let's just go through the list. First, the physical form. Your body height is limited to a really tight band, 150 centimeters to 2 meters. Second, and this one is just a massive throttle, brain power, only 2% of the brain cells are accessible, usable by the player.
Just think about that for a second. 2%. We operate on a 98% permanent handicap, just on the cognitive front.
And then there's sensory input. Our visibility is limited to a tiny fraction, 0.001% of the total domain.
It's like we're playing a high-resolution game through a tiny, blurry porthole.
And finally, the ultimate pressure, the time limit. Average playtime is throttled to 80 years, max 120. And once that clock runs down, it's just instant withdrawal from the game.
They are truly severe constraints, and deliberately so. But, and this is the most important philosophical insight here, despite all of those limitations, the rules affirm that 100% freedom remains within those boundaries.
So the mission isn't about escaping the limits.
No, it's about operating within them. It's about returning to the source and achieving conscious evolution while you're here.
You know, if the point is evolution, this framework offers a really important lens to appreciate your current life setup. The text points to this ultimate act of bravery. It says players sometimes choose bodies with severe handicaps when they re-challenge the game.
They do it specifically to achieve an instant high score, or just for a greater sense of challenge and fun.
That's a profound perspective shift.
It is, especially when you're dealing with severe difficulty. It reframes a difficult life, a disability, or even tragedy as a voluntary, highly ambitious choice made by your higher self.
So you signed up for the expert difficulty because you believed you had the ingenuity to conquer it.
That's the idea.
That sounds wonderful on paper. I mean, turning personal tragedy or immense pain into a high score. But let's be blunt. For someone suffering right now, that can sound a lot like spiritual bypassing. How does this philosophy reconcile the reality of pain with the idea of a voluntary choice?
That's a fair challenge, a very important one. And the philosophy addresses it by differentiating between the player and the avatar.
Okay.
The avatar experiences the pain. The player, the infinite self, chose the settings necessary to generate the data that pain provides. So pain, in this context, it's not a punishment, it's information. It's a critical setting designed to make the game impactful and memorable.
So adopting the hypothesis that I chose this, it doesn't erase the pain.
No, but it removes the victimhood. It shifts the internal question from, why is this happening to me, to what ingenious move must I devise?
That changes everything. It reframes the struggle as a necessary function of the game's difficulty, not some cosmic punishment.
Exactly.
But if the creator set these rules, then the existence of these severe limits, it implies something must have gone wrong if no one is progressing right.
Well, it does suggest the original constraints were in fact too strict. The text states that since the game began, no Reacher, no successful Tutatsusha has appeared.
Nobody's won the game yet.
The difficulty was so high that no player successfully completed the evolution mission, not under the initial 2% brain constraint.
So the infinite creator, apparently bored with endless failure, allows cheating. That's fantastic.
Yes. The creator has started modifying the game to help the players progress to the next level.
What does that system upgrade look like?
It's an expansion of our sensory input. The upgrade involves moving beyond the 5 traditional senses: sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. The modification has begun to allow the use of the 6th sense, or as the source calls it, the third eye. And this apparently began in the 21st century and signals a mandatory move to a new, less restrictive stage of the game.
That's effectively a system patch. A hint designed to give players a clue about the map and their location. But if we are infinite consciousness playing with severely limited senses, what exactly are we seeing? Is the world even real?
The philosophy is very specific here.
Yeah.
And very radical. The visible world, the audible world, everything you perceive through those 0.001% senses is merely a phantasm, an illusion.
A projection.
It is a projection. It's not the ultimate reality of existence. It is simply a projection created by your current 4D consciousness.
So the goal isn't just surviving the 80 years.
No. The goal is remembering your infinite nature and raising your consciousness to a higher dimension.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, you can continue to enjoy the challenge of the game while consciously wearing the physical body, the nikutai, rather than being trapped by it.
This moves us seamlessly into the practical implications, especially around the core issue of scarcity. When humanity forgets it's a game and buys into the restrictions, well, rational thought takes over. Resources are finite. They're Yugen.
Right.
And logically, to become rich or successful, one must take from others. That scarcity mindset is the foundation of almost all human conflict.
And that scarcity mindset is the direct, unavoidable result of operating solely within the restrictions, the 2% brain and the 0.001% visibility. The truth, according to this game structure, is that we are all infinite creators. We are Mujin no Shusha.
Okay, let's challenge that. If I am an infinite creator, why can't I just manifest a winning lottery ticket tomorrow? Doesn't that contradict the physical rules we just established about the time limit and the 2% brain?
It's a great question because it forces us to define creation. The philosophy states you can become the person you want, you can experience the life you want, and the necessary environment will naturally materialize. It focuses on the internal state first.
Ah, I see.
A lottery win is an external symptom. If you genuinely shift your recognition from scarcity to infinite abundance, then resources, opportunities, they will materialize. But they might not manifest as a lottery ticket. They will manifest in a way that respects the physical rules of the 3D environment, but reflects your new internal truth.
The system adapts to your belief structure.
And this is presented as a 100% truth, with no exceptions.
So the world is flexible, but it still adheres to the laws of 3D physics until your consciousness truly elevates. That forces us to look at how this refines our relationships. If I have 100% freedom, why can't I change that perpetually difficult boss or that challenging family member?
Because you're still perceiving them as an independent entity, operating outside the game rules you chose. The core rule here is that the other person exists only within your mind. They are a reflection.
If you can't change them.
It's proof that you haven't changed your own inner recognition.
That is the hardest rule to swallow. I mean, if I look at someone who's genuinely struggling, suffering, to say they are merely a reflection of my inner self feels extremely callous.
And this is where the philosophy takes its sharpest turn. If you perceive someone as troubled or needing help, the source says this image is a message shown to you by your higher self.
A message.
The purpose of their actions is not to burden you, but to act as a catalyst, a signpost that you need to change your inner consciousness, your belief structure.
So the person acting troubled isn't actually troubled in their core reality. They're just performing a role for my benefit, for my evolution.
That's the interpretation. They are a very precious person who volunteered to play a difficult, challenging role in your customized game scenario.
So they deserve gratitude.
Gratitude for their performance. The moment you truly shift your internal recognition, say, changing your fear of chaos into a belief in order, that reflection, the other person, must instantly change their behavior. It's an unavoidable rule of the 4D projection structure.
Wow. It shifts the entire focus from external intervention to internal responsibility and gratitude for the difficulty. Finally, let's talk about the endgame, mortality. After a challenging 80 years, what does this philosophy say about death?
It provides immense clarity. Death, or Shido, is nothing more than a withdrawal from the life game. It's the same sensation as the end of a long, intense game of shogi. You just step away from the board.
And since players can re-challenge, choosing a new era, new parents, a whole new environment,
Then there was no fundamental reason for the player, the infinite consciousness, to fear death. It's just a pause button.
the player is immortal, only the avatar is decommissioned.
Exactly. I found the personal anecdote in the source material truly powerful here. The speaker related hitting rock bottom to divorces, losing everything, and then realizing that if he simply adopted the hypothesis that he willingly chose this difficult life for the challenge, everything changed.
It removed the sting of victimhood.
Completely.
It became a strategic choice instead of a personal failing.
Yes. If you accept the hypothesis that you intentionally set the high difficulty settings, then everything is okay. Zenbu oke ni naru. Even the worst possible death is simply the agreed-upon end of a challenging round. This realization leads to a fundamental state of deep peace, or heian.
And this peace can exist alongside anger or sadness.
Crucially, yes. Those strong emotions are just difficult settings. The higher self chose them because they make the game fun and deeply felt.
This is a tremendous framework. So to summarize the core rules of the Earth-human game, you are fundamentally infinite. You chose the strict rules, the 2% brain, the 80-year time limit for the joy of ingenuity and advancement. And the world you perceive is merely a 4D projection of your current internal consciousness. If you change your consciousness, the projection must change.
It is the ultimate expression of self-mastery. By truly adopting this hypothesis, you tap into the immense joy and gratitude your pre-birth consciousness felt when choosing this specific challenging life. You didn't come here for the easy route. You came here because the difficulty was appealing.
It certainly makes those hard moments look a lot less like roadblocks and a lot more like strategically placed objectives.
It should. And so, if your current most difficult circumstance, that thing you were struggling with right now, was a high-score attempt chosen by your bravest self, what ingenious move could you make today that only a limited 2% brain could devise? That's what you came here to find out.
A perfect thought to leave you with as you ponder the rules of the challenging game you are currently playing. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.